Buenos dias. Good morning to everyone. You okay? You awake? You ready? Let's see. Is LA in the house? Northern California? Very good. Who is from outside of California? Oh, excellent. You all got up early. You're probably on a different time zone still, so you're able to get up, right? Well, let me tell you that I think I figured out whose these glasses are. You know, someone who's obviously not able to see, and there are about 4 Republican candidates running for office who haven't been able to see what's going on in America, and I think this may belong to Mitt Romney. Are you around? Are you in the House? I don't think the glasses are going to help them, but good to be with you. Good to be with this coalition. This is the coalition that moves America forward. And let me tell you why. It's time to start thinking about tomorrow. But too many folks forget that you can't build a good tomorrow unless you know what happened yesterday and where you are today. There's a lot to be said about yesterday. Some call them the good old days. And Yvette, having worked with you for quite some time, having seen what you do, now watching you with an organization that is trying to bring together folks who believe that we should have not just good jobs, but green jobs, and having you all do this in a way that moves America forward is so important, I believe, for what I'm about to tell you in terms of not tomorrow by itself, but yesterday. Because you see, we think too often about the good old days. You know, when things aren't going too well, we always say, oh, in the good old days. Some of us can remember when the good old days weren't so great. You know, when my father could tell me the story of, as a young man, how he could walk past a restaurant and had to walk past it without going in because of the sign that said no dogs or Mexicans allowed, even though he worked very hard for this country. Some of those days weren't so good. But my father will be the first to tell you, those were the good old days. Because every day he found a job. First as a farm worker, then cleaning the hulls of the ships here at LA Harbor, then fixing the brakes on what used to be Southern Pacific Railroad cars, then canning tomatoes for Campbell's Soup in Sacramento, California, and then spending about 25 years in road construction, working for the Laborers Union, building those roads and highways that today make America work. See, in the good old days, after World War II, America discovered it needed to be able to communicate, because you never know when the next Hitler would come around or the next threat would come, and you needed to make sure the West Coast and the East Coast, the South to the North, we were connected. And so we went on a big journey to connect America. And we invested, and we told all those GIs coming back, we need you to get educated to be the engineers and the folks who build. And so in those good old days, a guy like my dad with a 5th grade education, who every year, because of road construction in Sacramento, California, found himself unemployed because when it rains, you can't do road work, every year still had a way to find a job. And somehow he and his wife, who we brought from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, at the age of 18, had a chance to take 4 of their kids to college. And today, a guy who could not walk through the door of a restaurant when he was younger gets to walk through the doors of the White House because he has a son who can invite him over to go meet with the President of the United States of America. That is America. But let me ask you, can that man with a 6th grade education, 4 kids, can that man working road construction today guarantee his kids you're going to have a better life than I ever had? Can that union worker who even in his best year in the 1960s and the 1970s never earned as much as he and his wife now make in their retirement because he had a wife who was better than Bill Gates at knowing how to invest money? And as a result of my mother, today they have a decent retirement. And they live off of the income of those small rentals that they have. But can a man like that today, who's 24 years of age, 25 years of age, and now starting his family, working in road construction with a 6th grade education, or maybe close to a high school education, feel comfortable saying, kids, I know I'm going to give you something that will get you farther than I ever had a chance to go. And so tomorrow is so very important because there are still millions of Manuel Becerras in this world working with their hands every day, building America and believing in the dream that they too will get to do what Manuel Becerra did for his 3 daughters and Xavier Becerra, to go on and do what they could not. But they lived the dream through their kids. Someone figured out what the next big thing was after World War II and said, go. In the 1960s, John F. Kennedy said, we're going to go to the moon. Not because we were going to inhabit the moon, but because what it meant to be able to go to the moon and do something that we had never done before. And today, as a result of all that exploration and all of the innovation that we got from NASA and all its science, and we today have things like the internet, GPS, which we take for granted. The abilities that we have because we went beyond. Today, it's time to think about tomorrow. And tomorrow is what your name is. Good jobs, green jobs. Tomorrow, the future of America lies in our understanding that Manuel Becerra today can guarantee his kids more if we recognize that the job of tomorrow is the green job of tomorrow. We must be able to merge a good job with environmentally sane jobs. And if we do that, guess what? That wind technology which we invented, the parts will be manufactured once again here, not in China. That electric vehicle technology where we invented the battery will be manufactured here, not in Korea. And we'll create more jobs because every study you do shows that when you do a green job, you create 2 or 3 more jobs with it than if you just go after fossil fuels and try to create jobs through fossil fuels. But it's time for us to have leaders who will say, it's time to invest in our people and give us the next big thing. Now, here's where I tell you that there are a whole bunch of folks who need this in Washington, D.C. There are a whole bunch who aren't seeing very well. In December of 2010, a month after the midterm elections, the Senate Minority Leader said the following: our number one priority, political priority, is to make sure that Barack Obama is a one-term president. At the time that America was barely recovering from this deepest of recessions, only beginning to see job creation returning to America, only seeing Americans get back to work, the number one priority for that Senate leader was to make sure somebody lost his job. Three months ago, we had a whole crowd in Washington, D.C. who thought it was okay for 160 million working Americans not to maintain a payroll tax cut that put about $1,000 in their pocket for the year so they could go ahead and purchase things that was tougher to buy in these tough times. They were okay with the tax cuts that went to the 1% wealthiest in America and not having to worry about paying for them. But my gosh, give 160 million working Americans a tax break? Including, by the way, those billionaires. They'd get that same tax cut. We went all the way to right before Christmas, before Santa Claus had to keep their stockings a little empty, before some of these guys got some sense knocked into them. And so we got to know where we came from to know how to get there. And we need to do it together. And so as you begin today, I I have a very simple message for you. You're here, I hope, from whatever part of America, and certainly if you're here from California and from Los Angeles, I say this to you specifically. We got to get ready to launch. It's time for America to launch its next big initiative. And if you know where we stand today, you know that for us to create jobs, it won't be in some of our typical areas, even though today America's auto industry is back, even though today we have more oil rigs up and running in America than every other country in the world combined. Our next big idea will be in launching all that innovation that we have created and build the new job of America in the energy sector. And so you come together at the right time. It's time to launch. And when you come to talk about good jobs, green jobs, you put it in four succinct words. Because green jobs will be good jobs. But green jobs will be tomorrow's jobs. And I hope that you'll remember that a guy like Manuel Becerra will forever thank you for recognizing that it wasn't just he who had to raise 4 kids and let them walk through doors that he could never go through, but it's the guy just like him today who's trying to build this country from the ground up, one stone at a time. And it's because someone thought that we're not in the Stone Age anymore, but we are in the age of technology, where technology will create our jobs. I hope that you recognize that this is a revolution. I hope you recognize that here is its vanguard. And I hope you recognize that it's fully colored green. And we do this as a partnership. The labor community, the environmental community, but at the end of the day, it's the American community that does this, because someone recognized that a guy like Manuel Becerra, who never got past the 6th grade because he had to start working to help his family, could still figure out a way to make it in America. We make it in America, both literally and figuratively, and we make it as green as possible. And guess what? Tomorrow is very bright. And tomorrow, you and I can tell that laborer's son and daughter, you will be far better off today and in the future than your father and mother ever were. If that's your goal here today, if that's why you got up in the morning after partying late last night, then I think we've got our priorities right. And I don't think it matters if someone picks up these glasses or not. We see what's in the future. We know where we're going, and we know who we take with us. I'm going to let Manuel Becerra know when I speak to him this weekend that I spoke to a whole bunch of folks who thought about him and about his future, because they knew that America still has another chapter to write about how great it is, and those good old days make for even better days in the future. You go to it. Thank you for being here in Los Angeles. Make it work. Let's get some good jobs. Thank you very much.